All right. So today we'll cover two short chapters, Cooperative Strategy and CSR. Pretty easy. CSR especially very easy. Let me pull up the slides. Cooperative strategy, as the name signifies, means when firms cooperate with each other, and even though many a times they could be direct competitors as well, still they cooperate with each other. So one way is that you are cooperating because you are not direct competitors, right? Either you are in the same vertical, supply chain, or you have some overlap between your products, but you are not direct competitors. But in many cases, we will see that even firms, when they are direct rivals, even then they cooperate with each other. So why do they do that? How do they do that? Uh, we'll see in this chapter. So many examples we have of cooperative strategy, like Google, Intel, and TAG here formed a partnership to design and produce a smartwatch. Because they wanted to. It was a response. It was a strategic response, a comparative response to Apple's iWatch or Google's alliance with Fitbit. Right? That's also a cooperative strategy. So that is called collaboration when firms cooperate with each other. Collaborative advantage or relational advantage. And firms basically they pool resources to develop a competitive advantage. That is the rationale, right? That you come together to form something that gives you an edge over others. So one type is joint venture. We are all familiar with joint venture. We must have seen joint ventures around us of firms, right? Um, joint venture, as the name signifies, is when two firms come together to form a new combined firm. But it's not a merger. They have their independent identity, but they still uh, operate as a combined firm. So, like Maruti and Suzuki. Suzuki is a foreign firm, Maruti is an Indian firm. They come together as Maruti Suzuki in India. They operate as a joint venture. So that does not mean that Suzuki has lost its unique identity or Maruti has lost its unique identity. They still exist as independent firms, but just for that particular market, they operate as a joint venture. Joint venture can be anything like 70-30, 60-40, 45-55, 35-65. But generally, they tend to be 50-50, and that is when they perform the best, when they have equal ownership. The logic why firms form joint venture, uh, there could be two reasons. One, because you are operating in an uncertain environment, that is, you are going to a new market which you are not familiar with. So just to have some local resource, that there should be some local firm, local employees who know the local way of working, um, local regulations and all. So that is why you form joint venture, because you want to avoid the unfamiliarity with the environment. You want some local people to be helping you, right? And second reason could be just that the host country requires you to enter as joint venture. Because what happens especially in developing nations, that when they opened up, like China opened up in 1978 or India opened up in 1991, they they were not sure about the foreign firms. They feared that if foreign competitors enter their market, then their domestic firms would not be able to compete with the foreign firms because American firms, European firms had superior technology, superior management. They feared that if they enter, they would decimate our local firms. So they required that if you want to enter our country, then you have to form a joint venture with a local firm. Otherwise, you would not be allowed entry. So that is why, to comply with the host country's entry rules, because the logic was that if our local firms work with foreign firms, then they would learn from them, they would learn technology from them, they would learn management from them, and in a few years, maybe 5 or 10 years or 15 years down the line, they would also be as good as global firms. They would be able to compete globally with foreign firms, right? So that is why many countries, uh, initially, and still some countries do, they only allow foreign firms as joint ventures. Otherwise, especially in certain sectors. So it could be dependent on, I mean, it varies from sector to sector. So in some sectors, they may allow foreign firms to enter alone, but in some sectors where they feel that their domestic firms are weak, they may make it um, mandatory to enter as joint ventures, right? So those could be reasons for forming joint ventures. Then equity strategic alliances, when you do not form joint venture, but one firm has equity in other firm. That is, uh, you one of the firms buys some percentage equity, 10%, 15%. Uh, and the logic is that you don't want to take the whole risk alone to work on a new technology. So you want some cooperation or help from another firm, but you don't want to form a joint venture either, right? So, like Panasonic's investment in Tesla. So, Panasonic bought certain percentage of shares of Tesla, and Panasonic gave it the battery cell technology to work on. So, Panasonic believes that if it coordinates with Tesla on working on a new technology, then it does not have to take the whole risk because Tesla would be using its engineers and its machines and all, but they can come together and form something new which would be beneficial for both, right? And in the same manner, you can have non-equity strategic alliance as well, where you do not have any equity in each other, but you are still cooperating for maybe licensing or distribution or supply contracts. So in this way, you do not have to commit a lot of resources to each other, and you do not enter a formal agreement. I mean, you do, and I mean, licensing agreement is a formal agreement, but you do not have basically monetary stakes in each other in the form of stocks. But the agreement is just for supplying something. And non-equity strategic alliances are in many other ways, like outsourcing, or even say like educational institutions and individual companies as well. Like you might see sometimes that Panasonic or Samsung donates, invest some funds in a university, say Rutgers Electrical Engineering Department or Computer Science Engineering Department, that we will give you $1 million or $2 million grant, and please your top PhD students or your research scientists should work on this technology, and when they get some breakthrough, then we will get that technology. So it's like a non-equity strategic alliance, or not exactly, donate money. They may say to make it even more, non-equity form, because someone would say that, if they are donating money, then isn't it a kind of equity? They may say that, oh, we will pick 10 students from your university. We will provide them internships with a good pay at our research department. They will come and work for Panasonic and Samsung for 3 months during summer, and they will work on some new technology. In that way, they will get some work experience, they will get some funding in summer, and they will get something to show on their CV, and we will get best brains to work for us, which can help us get some good breakthrough, or some new groundbreaking technology. So it's a kind of non-equity strategic alliance, right, between companies and some university, right? So these are dyadic partnerships between two, but we will see that uh, there are many network partnerships as well, like alliance in which there are more than two players present. And one example is airlines. So you must have seen Star Alliance, One World Alliance, SkyTeam Alliance, right? I think many of these airlines which have air in their name, like Air Canada, Air China, Air India, I think they are part of, I guess, Star Alliance, if I remember correctly. So these networks have multiple players, and they compete with each other. But within one alliance as well, they are also competitors to each other, right? So they compete with each other as well as they cooperate with each other. Then other non-equity strategic alliance examples, like you must have seen these restaurants in retail stores as well, like the Walmart near my close to my home has Subway, right? Barnes and Noble have they have alliance with Starbucks, so it's also a symbiotic relationship, uh, where you can enjoy coffee while reading books in Barnes and Noble bookstores. Then, what are the reasons for strategic alliances? So, in slow cycle markets, the reason is mainly to enter a difficult market, or to fulfill the requirement of the host country, like Carnival Corporation, which has, these are slow cycle markets. Most of the big infra industries are slow cycle generally. So they entered uh, China with joint venture with their state-owned China Merchants Group, because one, it's always better to have some support from a company in China which has CCP stakes. So like it's a state-owned company, so you will have government backing, and it can be a difficult market for a newcomer who is not familiar with the culture and regulations there. So that is why. they formed joint venture. But even these big infra industries also are are moving from slow cycle to medium cycle or fast cycle because of the developments taking place everywhere. But in fast cycle markets, the logic for forming cooperative strategies is because the developments take place so fast, the technology becomes obsolete so fast that you need support. You cannot rely on your internal research all the time to give you the latest cutting edge technology. Like Ford and security specialist firm ADT, they invested in a new venture that would provide high tech security systems for vehicles to prevent burglary and theft. Right. So Ford uh, alone cannot come up with such a new technology, and they might not have in-house expertise to do that. And ADT needed, some maybe some automobile infrastructure like automobile factories to test their technology on. So they came together uh, in this fast cycle market because in this technology, especially in tech area, the developments happen very fast. Then standard cycle markets. What is an example of standard cycle market? Standard cycle market is this airline alliances. So we have Star Alliance, SkyTeam Alliance, One World Alliance. So initially they formed alliances because they wanted to share their complementary resources to fly between secondary cities. But now the logic is that they want access to more routes. So if say United Airlines, and somebody is flying from New York City to Beijing, so they can get United flight. But if the person has to go to Qingdao, a tier two city in China, but United does not fly to Qingdao, it only flies to Beijing and Shanghai, then they would have problem for the internal connectivity within China. So if United has an alliance with some Chinese airline, then while booking the ticket, they can see the option that from NYC to Beijing they will fly in United, but from Beijing to Qingdao they will fly in some local Chinese airline. So that way, the person would easily book the ticket. If that option is not available on United website, but some other airline is giving that option, then they would switch to that, right? So basically to get more routes, especially local routes where international airlines generally do not fly, uh, that is why they form alliances, right? And then they also pool their resources like passenger gates, customer service centers, airport passenger lounges, or even miles, right? Frequent flyer miles. Then business level cooperative strategies. Business level cooperative strategies. Uh, One is very common and intuitive is complementary strategic alliances that uh, you are kind of part of the same supply chain or complementary in nature. Complementary could also be like mobile apps on phones, right? Or Honda teaming up with Sony to build electric vehicles. So Sony has expertise in electric appliances, electrical engineering. Honda is automobile firm. So they both kind of complement each other. And this kind of strategic alliance is most beneficial, where you produce maximum synergies basically. Horizontal complementary strategic alliances when you are direct rival, you are direct competitor, and you coming together to work on something. And US, US based National Institute of Health, it encourages cooperation between different pharmaceutical firms, uh, so that cures for diseases for which we do not have cure yet, they can come they can get to the goal quicker, because if they work separately, then they might not be able to brainstorm ideas that would lead us to the cures for those diseases. So it's better if they do that together. Or say in the case of COVID, many governments asked all the pharmaceutical firms to cooperate with each other to come up with the vaccine as soon as possible, because it was an emergency, right? So that is horizontal alliance. And because they are competitors but also cooperating with each other, so they are called co-opetition basically means simultaneous cooperation and competition. And this happens in other industries as well, like automobile firms might come together to work on some new technology, or even sometimes share their resources, like using the same factory. But one problem with this horizontal alliance is that if you are selling the same product to the same customer, then you might have some differences of opinion, like how much each partner is going to contribute. Each unit may want the other partner to contribute more, and they have they might have some alliance with some other firms as well, and that I mean one firm can be a part of multiple alliances, right? So your other alliance partners might influence your decision in a manner with your some in a manner such that your different alliance partner might not like that decision. So that could also be a problem. Then another reason or motivation to form cooperative alliances, competition response. That is, you want to reduce competition. And this is not a good reason to form alliance, because it reduces competition in the market, which can result in either slowing down of innovations in the industry, and also less options for customers. And because these alliances are strategic in nature, so it's they do not easily reverse. I mean, it's not easy to reverse the decisions as well quickly, because when you form an alliance, you generally form it for a long run. Then uncertainty reducing strategies. So uncertainty reducing strategies basically, as we saw the examples in previous slides as well, when you enter a market which you are not familiar with, right? So you do not know the culture, do not know the regulations properly, then you would form the alliance because you want to reduce the uncertainty. And sometimes it may also be a requirement by the host country. Then competition reducing strategy. So uh, competition reducing strategy could happen due to collusion. And collusion, we understand the meaning of the word collusion. So collusion is when you deliberately, so explicit collusion is when you deliberately come together and decide that you would produce less and how much you would charge to the customers. Explicit collusion is illegal, but tacit collusion is when you do not explicitly come together, but you just observe the rival's behavior and then you deliberately produce less and charge more. So, like for example, if all the firms in the industry together they could produce 150 units every month, but they decide that we will produce only 120. So that way we will save money on production of the goods. And if they were producing 150, they were charging $50 each for each unit. But now they are producing 120 and they might charge 60 or 70 because see the original demand in the market is 150. But if the production is less, then customers would be ready to pay more as well, right? So they can charge 60 or 70. So that way, um, they are earning more profit because they are spending less on production of the goods, but they are charging more. So collusion is, of course, detrimental to customers, and it can also result in, you know, stifling of innovation. And a stifling of innovation actually can happen in uh, complement horizontal alliance as well. Horizontal lines, like if um, two rivals come together, like in the pharmaceutical company's example. So sometimes it may happen that you are forced to cooperate for some reason, but you don't want to. So you might only do the part which you are asked to do because you want the other partners to take more responsibility. So you might not actually, you are not self motivated, so you might not contribute as much as you should do because you are just trying to match competitors' efforts rather than pursuing your own path. And it can also result in lowering of rivalry, right? Because you think that because we are cooperating with each other, so we would not cut each other's costs. We would not undercut each other's costs, or we would not cut each other's markets. So just like competition reducing strategy, that can also result in lowering of competition and lowering of innovation. Collusion can also happen in multiple markets. So if you are competing against each other in multiple markets, which we call multi-point competition or multi-market competition, so in those cases as well, collusion can happen that, oh, I won't reduce prices in Brazil. So say Pepsi or Coca-Cola. So that I won't reduce prices in Brazil because Brazil is so important market for you. and you don't do that against me in South Korea. So even when they could have taken a pro market decision that could have helped customers or and competition as well, they don't do that because they know that there would be retaliation against them, not just in that market but in other markets as well, because they both are competing against each other in many markets. So they recognize their interdependence, and that is why they cooperate with each. They uh, collude tacitly with each other. It's not that they go to each other's offices and explicitly tell them that, oh, we won't do that against you, but they just know that through market behavior that they both are colluding with each other. So when prices are above the competitive level in an industry, it is logical to assume that the dominant firms use a tacit collusion cooperative strategy. So suppose if usually the airfare in February from US to say Manila in Philippines are $1,000, but if you see them going up to 1,500 or 2,000, there's a chance that firms are colluding tacitly with each other. And the term for that is mutual forbearance. Mutual forbearance is because they are competing against each other, they are facing each other in uh, multiple markets. And governments generally, the regulatory authorities generally take note of that. They generally are cognizant of such collusions happening, and they oppose that. Like, for example, this case, American Airlines and JetBlue tried to coordinate flights in Northeast, but US antitrust enforcers said that this is illegal, though they still went ahead with the cooperation. But yeah, you can always go to the authorities and tell them that collusion is taking place in so and so industry. Please take note of that. So, in all these reasons that we saw, competition reducing, uncertainty reducing, competition response, horizontal, complementary, in all of these reasons, complementary is the most productive reason. It's the best reason because you are coming together to create synergies and not to reduce competition or uncertainty. Then corporate level cooperative strategy. Corporate level, if you remember, I told you about this that, in the case of mergers and acquisitions, many a times firms groom the target firm for some time, right? That they form a relationship with the other firm. They test that would it be good in the long run to acquire this firm. So they first form a cooperative strategy with the firm, and then some years down the line they acquire it. So of course, because it's corporate level cooperative strategy, so one reason would be diversification, right? You are diversifying either in product new product segment or geographic segment, and that is why you decided to form a cooperative strategy with the firm. Like, for example, this Italian wine company, they formed an alliance with an Indian firm to enter Indian market because they lacked the management skills to be present in Indian markets. It was a new market for them; they were not familiar with it. So that is why they formed an alliance, and it's working well for them. Then synergistic strategic alliance. You can create synergies through pooling your resources. Like for example, creating economies of scope. So what is economies of scope? So you remember the example that I have mentioned several times in the past, like you can use the same assembly line to produce different different products. So in this case, Renault and Nissan are using the same manufacturing platform to produce cars, and once they are built, you can label them either Renault or Nissan. So both save money, right? Both save a lot of money on infrastructure. And then franchising as well. Franchising is another way how you can cooperate with other firm. So in which industry do you see franchising the most? Which is a very common example of franchising?
Restaurants and hotels.
Restaurants and hotels, right? So so what happens in these industries, restaurants and hotels, because not one firm has very high share or market share. So say if there are like 10 different firms who all have 4 to 7% market share each. Some have, like one of them has, like some have 4 or 5, others have 6 or 7. So there's no monopoly, duopoly, or even oligopoly in these industries. It's generally tends to perfect competition zone. So in those kind of industries, uh, you want to increase your market share. So how would you do that? So rather than having one brand, you somehow occupy multiple brands. So if you somehow get 5 or 6 competitors under your umbrella, then your total market share would increase from 4% to 12% or 15%. So how would you do that? You form alliances with multiple firms. You can have, you know, by basically consolidating your independent companies. So if you have relationships or partnerships through contract with multiple firms, then your overall market share would increase from a small share to higher share, right? So that is what firms do in restaurant chains or hotel chains. That they form franchising relationship or contractual relationship with multiple units, and they increase their market share. So it's more prevalent in fragmented industries. Network cooperative strategy. So network cooperative strategies exist often in industries like software, pharmaceuticals, and you would also find that in these kind of industries, big firms often have a relationship with small entrepreneurial startup firms as well, because they are searching for innovation based outcomes. So you might remember that I gave example of a firm investing in OpenAI, right? You remember which firm? had invested in OpenAI, still has shares in that.
Microsoft.
Right, right. Microsoft, right. So in these kind of industries, these firms become embedded in networks and they form alliances with a lot of companies. And because in these industries, a lot of investment in research is required, you consistently need new breakthroughs, fast cycle markets, basically, right? So they form networks. The problem with these strategies is that if you are part of one network, you may not be able to take benefit of other networks. Like, for example, if you are part of one of those airline alliances, like a Star Alliance, and suppose Star Alliance has many routes in Europe, so you get access to those routes in Europe. But now, in your future strategy, you plan to expand in Southeast Asia. You want to expand in more cities in Southeast Asia, but Star Alliance does not have many routes in Southeast Asia. Suppose some other alliance, one star, one alliance, or whatever those names are, they have more routes in Southeast Asia, but you cannot get access to those routes now because you're already part of one alliance. So it may not be possible for you to be part of another alliance as well at the same time. So you can get logged into one partnership and you cannot get you cannot reap the benefits of the developments of other alliances, other networks. So there are two kinds of network alliances. One is stable alliance, which is in mature industries, like airlines is a mature industry. So where these alliances are formed for long durations, but dynamic alliances are formed for short durations, mostly in industries like tech or even pharmaceutical, where you form alliance for uh, some quick success, say 2 or 3 years, and then you quit, then you exit the alliance, and then you make new alliance with some other firms. So mature industries like these airline industries, uh, these networks are for long durations, but in short product life cycle industries like tech, the alliances are dynamic and they do not last long. So, as I mentioned previously, in almost every chapter in this course, we study that these strategy fail. So M&A strategies fail, innovation strategies fail, this strategies fail, that strategies fail. So similarly, even cooperative strategies fail. Then, and we always ask ourselves, then what is the use of studying a strategy if strategies are anyway gonna fail? But that is how the nature of business field is. Because of difference of opinion, generally these strategies are not successful most of the times, but still you get to learn a lot. So you still form strategy cooperative strategies, and there can be two ways of looking at these strategies. So one is cost minimization, the other is opportunity maximization. So cost minimization is when you write down each and everything, all the unforeseen circumstances, your contract is very elaborate. So that way, uh, you can prevent opportunistic behavior by the partner. So that way you minimize your costs, that you don't want to go to court or anything, and you don't want the cost of supervising, agency costs or supervising cost, that we constantly have to keep an eye on our partner, that what the other firm is doing, are they trying to be opportunistic or backstabbers. So that is a cost minimization approach when there is some trust deficit. But the other approach could be opportunity maximization, when you have more trust in the partner, so you do not write everything. You do not go by the rules every time. You leave some flexibility there. So that way you feel that you can maximize the synergy, because you have trust, uh, and that way less formal contracts and fewer constraints on partners' behaviors. So they can explore more how they can combine their resources for value creation. So that can be other way of looking at these cooperative strategies. This was our first chapter for today, and I see one person is absent. But who is that person? So this is a pretty fun chapter and simple, very simple chapter. So, so what is CSR? You hear this term all the time, right?
Corporate social responsibility.
Yes, but how would you define it?
Corporations, businesses being responsible of taking care and making sure they also reciprocate towards the stakeholders, the
Yes,
well-being.
yes. Yeah, so basically, yes, as you said, to promote the welfare and well-being of the stakeholders, right, and society as a whole, because they are allowing us to operate. They are allowing a firm to operate in the community. So it's our duty to have some responsibility towards them as well, right? And why CSR needed? Because stakeholders sometimes have conflicting interest, which needs to be mediated by the corporate governance. Have you watched this movie? Heard of this movie? Yeah, I watched it last year, last to last year actually. It's a pretty good movie. It's based on a real case, and it has big names actually: Mark Ruffalo, Anne Hathaway, Tim Robinson also. It's about a lawyer in Connecticut, I guess, who dug down, you know, corruption in DuPont. So we use Teflon, right? Where's Teflon used?
Something like the pans that we
Yeah.
cook, like cookware.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Non-stick pans. Yes. So they were discharging these chemicals in West Virginia, which was causing diseases in cattle and people were dying. So he exposed this corruption. It took him like more than 10 years, something like that. So it was published in New York Times. So conflicting interests of stakeholders. So one stakeholder is the community that we are operating in. Other stakeholder is the investors and top management, and they have conflicting interests because they want to maximize their profit and revenues, while community might not want that. They might not want the, I don't know, maybe like not want the trees to be cut, not want the water bodies to be polluted, something else. There could be hundreds of reasons. So that is why CSR is needed. And there are various rules regarding CSR in various countries. So, like India became the first country that mandated CSR, that at least 2% of your profits should be spent on CSR. Most of the countries have some rules and regulations. US does not have any mandatory CSR provisions, but still, the corporations generally perform CSR activities due to public pressure for the goodwill, basically. So, some terminology like we use the term bottom line all the time in our lingo, right? What is the bottom line, right? So, bottom line basically comes from the accounting, that bottom line is your final profits or final revenues. That is the bottom line, right? But a new term is triple bottom line, which is basically, like CSR has been modified to ESG nowadays. So these corporate people consistently keep coming up with new fancy terms in every few years. So this ESG is environmental, social, and governance. Uh, and triple bottom line is similar to that. Triple bottom line is, so one is your economic mission, right? That is your bottom line, of course. But there are other two components as well, which is one is environment, another is society, and that also gives us ESG. ESG does not have economic, but ESG has governance, environmental, social, and governance. So examples of CSR. So this firm, Australian firm, it because it's working in you know tissue paper or toilet paper production. So it donates its profits to build sanitation facilities and also in environmental protection because it uses a lot of paper. So it needs to contribute something for forestation. But better example closer home is Patagonia. So Patagonia, while normally a firm would want you to buy its products as frequently as possible, but Patagonia actually encourages you to reuse and repair instead of buying new products, which is a bit counterintuitive, but it wants you to repair yourself. And if the repair job is difficult to do yourself, then you can take their items to the repair shops and have zippers and tears and all repaired for free. Or you can also mail your items to any Patagonia store. So Patagonia is also moving towards 100% renewable and recycled raw materials, and they are very transparent about their supply chain as well. Like they claim that they don't use any resources, animal products in their products, and customers know exactly how their clothes are made due to transparency in supply chain. And they also donate their profits towards environment. So Patagonia is doing a lot uh, towards its CSR activities. And every firm has a CSR component. You can find it in their annual reports and all. And most of the times, you would find something related to maybe environment because generally the actions of firms affect environment negatively. And not acknowledging your duties towards community can result in many harmful, repercussions as well, not just for society but for the firm as well. Like, for example, Nestle has been in controversy many times, not once but several times. Like, um, back in 1970s, Nestle used to dress its saleswomen as nurses and send them to these gullible mothers. So we know that the first year, at least minimum 6 months, but generally even more than that, at least 1 year or 1.5 year, the toddlers need to drink mother's milk because that is most nutritious and that is required for their growth. They would send them these saleswomen dressed as nurses, telling them that their infant formula is superior to breastfeeding and they should adopt the infant formula of Nestle, which resulted in many deaths. And you know what? This stopped in US when mothers and people protested against Nestle, but they did not stop it in other parts of the world. So they continued this in developing nations where people are less aware. And then in 1998, I guess, some whistleblower in Pakistan exposed the scam that what Nestle is doing. And there was also a Bollywood movie made on that person a few years ago. And you can find that in Nestle's other products as well. So, like for example, here, if you check any chocolate, right, how much sugar component is in the chocolates and all. So here, because the rules are strict, you would find that it's below like say 10%, 5%, whatever. But the same chocolate, if you buy in say India or Philippines or Africa, those components of those harmful materials would be much higher, much higher. Not just sugar, but even other components which are harmful. And yeah, they evade those the rules in that way because just because the enforcement is not that strict in those parts of the world. So yeah, Nestle has done it again and again. This is why uh, acknowledging or understanding the responsibility towards society is important in you know a business, what we call ethical practices in business. I don't think you would be able to hear this right now, right? I need to turn on the this.
Hi, I'd like to have a baby and have paid time off to take care of it.
Maybe.
Why not? We're literally one of 5 countries in the world that don't have federal paid maternity leave laws.
That would be bad for my baby formula profits.
Sounds like a decision for the states.
I think it's bad the birth rate is falling.
Well, I'm giving all my employees paid leave.
Are you just doing that to get your union to back down?
Maybe.
What the hell?
Can't you just bring the baby into the office?
Why are you
or
so
something?
greedy?
Why do you
That's
want
what
to
I'm
market
wondering.
it?
Come be an
Money
arista.
is
Bring your
fast,
anti-union
and that's
baby.
I'd also like paid time off to take care of my baby. No,
What are you
dude.
gonna do with that baby?
Wait, actually, how much do you like unions?
Yeah, these are examples how firms consistently um, shrug off their responsibilities. So in CSR, United Nations has laid down some goals that they want to achieve in the next. I mean, they keep postponing the goals. So they first want them to achieve by 2030, but they would not be able to achieve by 2030, so they would move that to 2050 and so on. And firms can adopt any one of these goals which aligns most with their sector that they are working in, that they are present in. So their field of work, or even the most basic ones, just for the start, like giving equal wage to both the genders, like giving women equal wages. Even that could be a very basic small start if they do not want to commit to any one of these goals uh, initially, or immediately. So many firms have written down these guidelines, uh, like code of ethics, and sometimes they train the employees on these guidelines the beginning weeks when they undergo training. Like for example, Unilever has written down in its code of conduct that it will not tolerate substandard working conditions or use of child labor and bribery. And it's mostly the top management which should set a precedent for the younger employees, because employees tend to emulate the top management's behavior. If they are behaving in an ethical manner, then new employees will also behave the same way. And if they are not, then young employees will also feel that, oh, they also can break the laws. So, what are different types of CSR? So, one is that so first three are inward looking CSR, and the last two are outward looking. So, what are inward looking? So, first is that operate in an honorable manner. Like, for example, suppose there are five types of bricks: type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, type 5 bricks. With type 5 being the best and type 1 being the lowest quality. Now, suppose the government guidelines say that when building bridges, you have to use minimum type 3 brick. You cannot use type 1 and type 2. Now, firm, if a firm uh, in its tender had it can use type 3 bricks because that is acceptable. But if the firm uses type 4 or type 5 type of bricks, which they were not mandated to use, but they still went over and above their duty to use the best quality. So that is operating in an honorable manner, that you practice highest standards of the industry and government regulations, even if that is not compulsory, right? Provide good working conditions for employees. Like the example that I mentioned, I think in the last week as well, right? This Bangladesh factory collapse, right? So these garment companies, they outsource this to China, Bangladesh, and Vietnam, and something happens there, then they also bear the brunt of that, because even though they were not directly involved, but they still bear the brunt because it's their supplier, right? Then encourage workforce diversity. So these are inward CSR. Be a good steward of the environment. We'll see Disney's example, in the coming slides. And actively work to better the quality of life of the local communities where you operate. So have you heard of this Community Engagement Day? I don't know whether it happens at New Brunswick campus. It happens in Newark campus though. Does it happen at Brunswick campus? Have you heard it before? No? Community Engagement Day? So at Newark campus, there's this. It happens, I think, every semester once on some weekend, like on Saturday. And students and even staff would go to some place in New Jersey. Like once they went to some forest area and they picked all the trash there. Uh, they collected the trash. So they leave at like 8 or 9 in the morning. They do that till like 2 or 3 p.m. and they come back and they do this so uh, I think last year something this was different. So this forest one was, I guess, 2024, but last year there is some other activity. They volunteered at some other place, I think some food distribution center or something, I don't remember. So yeah, this happens at Rutgers as well. Then Disney example was this one, uh, the solar park. Have you been to Disney World, Orlando? Anyone here?
Yeah, I have. I've gone before.
Ah, you also have been there before. Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you know how big is the Disney World there? Any idea? I've also been there. I love it. Um, so Disney World in Orlando is bigger than San Francisco and Paris. Disney World alone, and we know that there is Universal Studios and the rest of Orlando as well. But Disney World alone is bigger than San Francisco and Paris in Orlando. So you can imagine how big uh, this solar park would be, because this Magic Kingdom, I think this is size of Magic Kingdom or something. The solar park is the size of Magic Kingdom, something like that. So they committed to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by 50%, and they did achieve it. And now they are committing to zero, net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. So this was one of the outward CSR. All right, so coming to theories. Now, one theory was given by Professor Sandra Holmes back in 1976, and we are in 2026. So 50 years later, that theory is still relevant. So she wrote a paper called Executive Perceptions of Corporate Social Responsibility, and um, she found that there are 5 reasons why a firm would do CSR, and these 5 are in a priority order. So this is the first rank, like the most important, then second most important, and so on and so forth. So the first one is utilizing a corporation's ability to help a specific need. So it's obvious that if you have to choose a field for CSR, you would choose to do something which you can do the best, right? For example, if I am a restaurant chain, rather than throwing out the leftover, I can distribute the leftover to homeless people, right? So when I was in India 12 years ago, uh, I joined a newly formed organization called Robin Hood Army. The guy he worked in Portugal uh, for Goldman Sachs or McKinsey. He worked for some MNC in Portugal, and he saw this organization called ReFood I think ReFood was the name in Portugal. So when he came back to India, he started the same idea in India called Robin Hood Army. We would go to the restaurants on weekends. We would take the leftover food and we would distribute that to homeless people. Okay. And there are organizations like that in US as well who are doing that. I just saw an advertisement for one 2 or 3 days ago on YouTube. I do not remember the name though, but I did see an advertisement. So that advertisement was on my phone app. I was not using Ola browser laptop at that time. So yeah, there are those kinds of organizations in US as well. So that is something you can do because you are in food sector. So it's easy for you to do social service which is related to your work, right? So utilizing a corporation's ability to help a specific need, like Pfizer's corporate citizenship. So Pfizer, because it works in pharmaceutical sector, it can do something related to that, rather than donating electric cars, for example, like because that is completely random and not related to what you do. Then second is severity of need. Sometimes you need to do something which is not related to your task because there is severity of need. Like for example, uh, during COVID, uh, even handbag companies were making sanitizers, or Tesla, Apple, and Ford were making ventilators, sanitizers, and face masks, which is not their job because there was severity of need, right? Sometimes firms can do both, utilizing your ability and severity of need. Like uh, the distillery was making hand sanitizers because one, it can do that, and second, there was severity of need, right? Then executive interest. So we do not teach Tata case in winter semester, so you won't understand this example. But Tata, the CEO who died recently of the Tata Sons, he has a big cancer hospital in Mumbai, which treats patients for very low cost because he lost a family member to cancer. So it became a personal goal for him to fight cancer. Or say some other example, like say there is a big multinational firm which uh, sponsors two high school students for international chess competitions every year because the CEO of that firm loves chess. So that would be an executive interest. Now, this is not something related to what the firm does. This is not severity of need. Sponsoring students for chess is not benefiting society in a major way. Yeah, fine, it is helping, but maybe those kids can afford to participate in international competitions on their own. But that does not matter. The firm has decided that it will sponsor two high school kids to participate in global chess competition. They will sponsor their flight tickets and accommodation, everything, because the CEO loves chess. So that is executive interest, right? Then fourth reason is PR gained from action. Sometimes you do activities because you want positive PR or you want to counter your negative image, right? And the fifth reason is you are doing something because uh, government's regulations and rules help you to do that. Like Tesla, you know, started making electric vehicles not because they were very motivated to fight pollution, or that could be one of the reasons, but another reason was because government supported them, gave them subsidies. I think this last year the subsidy ended, right? It was there for a very long time. Then something similar was published by McKinsey, I guess in 2008, where they said that CSR can be done in two ways. One is benefit to society, one is benefit to business, and we need to find a common ground. So pet project is something like executive interest, right? That is what the pet project is. Now, sponsoring two high school kids for chess competition has low benefit to society. It's not zero, but it's low, very low. There are much more important things that one can do for the society. And it has very low benefit to business as well. Maybe nobody really cares that if an automobile firm is sponsoring two high school kids for chess competition. But it's a pet project. Then propaganda would be PR gained from action. You are doing something solely for photo op, solely for media coverage. Low benefit to society, but high benefit to business. Okay. Then philanthropy. Philanthropy could be, it could be either of the, one, two, or even three. Like Tata opening the cancer hospital is philanthropy as well as good PR, both. It gets good PR, it's also philanthropy. So philanthropy is high benefit to society, low benefit to business when you are doing something out of genuine consideration, genuine concern, rather than to, get media coverage. Partnering is where a firm should, firm should target this area. High benefit to society and high benefit to business. How? We will see some examples how you can do that. So we can map Professor Sandra's research paper to McKinsey's article. So executive interest would be here, PR gain from action would be here, severity of social need would be here, and utilizing a corporation ability. So like partnering could be, so you are anyway gonna throw the leftover food. So partnering is like high benefit to society if you donate that food to uh, homeless people, and high benefit to business as well, because everybody would know that McDonald's is donating. The problem with this thing is that they do not have the people to do that job. So if they close the restaurant at 10 p.m., everybody wants to go home. They do not have the logistics to take all the food and donate to homeless people, right? So that is why sometimes they are not able to do that, and that is where these uh, non-government organizations or volunteer organizations come into the picture, like what we were doing for Robin Hood Army back in India. Robin Hood Army is now in, I guess, more than 20 countries now, like more than 100 cities. They have a big website. You can check that. So that is where these kind of people step in, right? Where they can just go and collect the food, and then they would go to a location where a lot of homeless people live, and they can donate the food. So that is how the partnering is done. You partner with the society. In that way, you benefit both society as well as business, right? And how do executives decide on which causes to support? So these were the 5 reasons how executives decide which causes to support. But where is the reason where they would say that because it improves my profits? Where is the reason where an executive would say that I am doing this CSR because it would improve my profits? Oh, by the way, before that, I forgot this slide. Yeah, so this is like the propaganda example that firm that operates in cutting trees. They're wood company. and then they also plant most trees. I won't actually say propaganda because that is their job. I mean, when the firm is about timber, what are they gonna do? They're gonna cut trees, right? What else can they do? Uh, anyway, so where is the reason where executive would say that I'm doing this because it improves my profits? Well, there comes in the example what I was talking about in the last lecture, bottom of the pyramid. Bottom of the pyramid, or you can also say that that would come somewhere here in partnering. So I talked about Professor C.K. Prahlad's book, Bottom of the Pyramid, right? Like how you can target the big segment of the population, right? So this is pyramid. This is the top strata, rich people. But most of the population lies here, right? Biggest chunk of population lies here. Now, if you start making phones under $100, under $50, for the people who cannot afford them, it is going to help them because they need phones. It helps in their daily lives. It helps in their business. It helps in their education. If they are not able to someone lives in very remote area, if they are not able to attend classes for something because that facility is not available there, they can learn that through phone. They can learn that through internet, right? So phone can help in many ways in their lives, and it can help them uplift from poverty or lower strata of the society to middle class or upper class, right? So that way it will improve your profits because even if you get $30 on each phone, but if you sell millions of them, you can be as big a firm as Samsung or Apple, and it will also help society. So that is the answer to uh, how will CSR improve my profits, and that would also fall in somewhere in this area, I guess, partnering, because there is high benefit to society as well as high benefit to business. But research does show that, or research, no, let me frame it this way. Research does not give any evidence, proper evidence that CSR helps in increasing profits, because it's like a chicken and egg problem. Because uh, studies basically say maybe that, the answer is maybe, whether due to CSR your profits increase or not, because it's hard to come to a conclusion whether your profits increased because you did CSR, or you were able to do CSR because you were already earning good profits, or you were already in a good standing. Because your firm was doing well, that is why you were able to do a significant amount of CSR, whether that is the reason, or your profits have increased because you did CSR. So there is no real hard evidence to come to a conclusion that which of the two reasons is true, you know. So research leaves us with the answer maybe. But still, even if the research does not give strong support, strong evidence that CSR results in higher profits, still it's good and important to do CSR because it helps in high retention, and it helps in countering negative image. So like my friends who are working for Maruti Suzuki or Tata back in India, they generally don't tend to leave the firm. Like they don't even apply to other firms for jobs because they are very happy there. because like Maruti friend tells me that he's very happy with the workplace environment. They treat them like family. So that is why he does not even think of quitting the firm and joining some other firm. And Tata has very good PR, I mean, very good image, very good public image due to these initiatives, like this cancer hospital in Mumbai and some other initiatives that Tata undertakes. So people feel very good. They feel that they are contributing to the society if they are working for that firm. So they don't even feel like applying to other firms, even if they can get higher pay there. So lower turnover costs and higher employee retention is the result of CSR. So let's take one example, last example. Hindustan Unilever Limited is it launched a project called Project Shakti. So Shakti basically means feminine energy, or it's a term for goddess in Hinduism. And coincidentally, actually, even my shirt has Shakti written on it. You see, Shakti today. Uh, they started this project to support females in rural areas in India. And I'll give you 5 minutes to read it. It's just one page. That's it, just three paragraphs. It was so successful. They started it, I guess, 25 years ago. It was so successful that they replicated it in Africa, Latin America, and other countries of Asia as well. So we will study this. I mean, we will read this case, and then we will map it to that Professor Sandra's and Mackenzie's map. That uh, graph, right? So we have to think in terms of right. We have to think in terms of this. Remember, um, long-term advantage, short-term advantage, tangible, intangible to both firm as well as the society or the community, right? So I'll give you about 5 minutes. I'll give you 2 more minutes. Okay. All right. So what are the benefits to the firm?
The revenue of 100 million, and then they had the loyalty from the people because they were training the woman and hired 42,000. So long term, they had the loyalty from them.
Right. Avish, what is the Avish, are you on a call?
Yeah.
Are you on some other call as well?
No, it's just the webcam that's pointed in a different direction.
Okay. Yeah, what is the benefit to the society of this project?
Is it essentially that they're providing a lot of employment to the women entrepreneurs.
Right. Yes. Women get employment.
They also get
And
education, training.
yes, so basically, in the long term, see, if you increase the income of the people, they're gonna buy more of your products, right? So this is a good example of the partnering area or bottom of the pyramid. It's like bottom of the pyramid, right? Because they are targeting the people at the bottom of the pyramid and converting them into their customers, right? So it's helping them come out of the poverty and loyalty in the sense that they are the first multinational firm that these people from the villages come into contact with, right? So whatever their interaction would be with other multinational firms in the future, that would be the comparison would be with Unilever. Unilever has set the standards for CSR as well as for the products, right? What products are we talking about here, by the way? What products
Like
does?
household products for like cleaning, right?
Yes, 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 household products, toothbrush and daily use items, right? All those things. So yeah, so they would compare. So because people in these villages, they have never come into contact with any multinational firm, neither their products nor their welfare schemes. So whenever some other firm tries to reach them for either welfare schemes or for products, they would always be compared with Unilever by these people. Are you doing good enough that we should accept you because we are already loyal towards Unilever, right? So it gives them a very long loyalty. Then, of course, it's a win-win situation for both, as he said, right? Uh, so the basic motive is to target the most underdeveloped segment of the society and convert them into your loyal customers. That is what they are doing here. So it's a good example of bottom of the pyramid like this. Why should I do CSR? That it will improve my profits. And partnering area, right? So this was CSR. As I said, it's pretty easy chapter. There's not really much to learn to, I mean, like theoretically remember. It's very common sense. So we have last chapter tomorrow, corporate governance. That's a very important chapter. It's a bit long as well. And then the case. And that's it. Start working on your final presentation. And I will upload peer evaluation form as well. I mean, it's in the syllabus as well, but I will make a link for submission. You have to rate your team members based on all the work that you have done with them, be it on final presentation or the case submissions. So the I will make the submission link for Friday because you would work with them till Friday, right? So there's no point on submitting before Friday, right? That's it. If you have anything to discuss, you can stay. Otherwise, let's meet tomorrow.